Welcome to episode 2 of the GOAT Off. Today we compare the first and second generation of world-class German drivers and see who truly exudes German precision. Let the GOAT Off begin. First up, Michael Schumacher. I remember this German racing for Benetton when he was still only a kid, dicing with the legends despite having no right to match their pace. I remember him crying on the podium after the race Ayrton Senna died, not realizing he was trailing the Brazilian at the time of his tragic accident, outpacing all teammates, consistently beating the faster Williams of Damon Hill in 94 and 95, leaving to make Ferrari great again, dominating the sport as what we loved seeing on a Sunday, retiring at his peak and then making his ill-fated comeback. We loved Schumi, we still do, and we pray for him after his horrible skiing accident. Let's get this GOAT off going. Sebastian Vettel. Ah yes, the first of the second generation world-class German speedsters. He would always be in the shadow of the great Schumi, but when he won a race in the average Toro Rosso, we all saw the huge potential he had. He would go from strength to strength, winning championships, and joining Ferrari to make the horse fear again, and that's where it all seemed to fall apart. But for a while, he looked unstoppable. Championships. Michael Schumacher wins 7 championships in his career, winning in 1994, 1995, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003 and 2004. Breaking his leg in 99 seemed to break the aura of the unstoppable German. Boy, were we wrong. Starting his dominance shortly after playing number 2 to Eddie Irvine after his comeback from injury. He finishes with the most, now tied with Lewis Hamilton, championships of anyone of all time, leaving little doubt that he rates a rating of 10 out of 10. Sebastian Vettel. Of course, so far in his career he's won 4 championships, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. Now winning 4 championships, sometimes by the skin of his teeth, proves the quality we seem to forget that this guy has. Tied with Alain Prost, and behind Schumacher, Hamilton and Fangio on the all-time list, leaves him with a rating of 8 out of 10. Race wins. 91 wins for Michael Schumacher. That was for a very long time the world record. Sometimes the Meister was untouchable, sometimes super competitive, forcing Damon Hill off the track or trying to smash into Jacques Villeneuve or dicing wheel to wheel with Montoya. The opposition changed, but Schumacher's feeling that he owned the track never did. Coulthard caused him to crash off in the wet, and the standers by had to keep them from going all out UFC in the paddock afterwards. Ultra competitive, immensely successful, and the must-win attitude that made as many enemies as fans leaves Michael Schumacher with a 10 out of 10. Sebastian Vettel has 51 race wins at the time of recording this, just before he officially joins Aston Martin for the 21 season, from 256 race starts, leaving him with a 20.6% win ratio. Impressive, but it can still of course go either way. He lies 3rd on the all-time list, ahead of Prost, ahead of Senna, behind Schumi and Hamilton only. For now, credible rating of 9 out of 10. Michael Schumacher had 155 career podiums. What? Yes, 155 podium finishes from 307 starts, coming to an average of 50.3% of the races he started. He finished on the podium. That's nuts, and that's a rating of 9 out of 10 for Schumacher. Sebastian Vettel in his career so far has 121 podiums. 121. Amazingly, that's 47.1% of the time he has started a race he's finished in the top 3. Rating 9 out of 10. Versus teammates. Now we get to the good stuff. Of course, Michael Schumacher caused quite a stir making his debut for Jordan, and immediately after a single race, leaving for Benetton, he faced 3-time world champion Nelson Piquet for the remaining 5 races of his first season, and he matched the triple world champion as a rookie, finishing with 4 points to Piquet's 4.5. A very impressive draw to kick off his career. Martin Brundle replaced the retiring Piquet. The battle-hardened veteran though was beaten in every aspect by the young German, and Schumi wins. He was replaced by Riccardo Patrese from champions Williams, and he was soundly beaten by the young Schumacher. Next up, Jos the Boss Verstappen. Max's dad wasn't quite Max's quality, and he's probably best remembered as a solid driver whose car caught fire, and these little swimmers seemed to be a bit faster than he was himself. Cue Max. Schumacher wins, no contest. JJ Leto was only there for a few races, had no time to make an impact. Schumi wins. Johnny Herbert, the talented Brit, helped Benetton to the Constructors' Championship in his second season, but he came nowhere matching Schumacher's pace. Schumacher left, joined Ferrari, and Eddie Irvine started this Ferrari episode as his teammate, having impressed at Jordan. Never quite matching Schumacher, he came mighty close to winning the title in '99 when Michael broke his leg, only losing out to Häkkinen in the final race of the season. Michael beats him hands down overall though. Rubens Barrichello. Irvine left for Jaguar and was replaced by his former Jordan teammate Barrichello. Well, Jordan sponsored a lot of Schumacher's career. Winning some races, Barrichello seemed to be an out-and-out number 2 driver at Ferrari. He did an excellent job, pushing the prancing horse to multiple Constructors' Championships but never being near Schumacher's level. Resigning himself to the number 2 spot, and that's where he finished, number 2 to the Michael. Felipe Massa came in, with a lot of promise, but lost handily to Schumacher, who retired for the first time after finishing second to Alonso in the championship. Nico Rosberg was waiting when Michael Schumacher made his comeback at Mercedes. Schumacher's loyalty to the brand that gave him his first real break, proving his undoing though. Schumacher never came close to his previous levels of performance, and Rosberg whooped him like some cream. Maybe like a horse. I don't know. He whooped him in any case. A much younger Rosberg showing a much older Schumacher some new tricks. The much younger man beat the much older man thoroughly over 3 seasons. Leaving Michael Schumacher with a rating of 7 out of 10. He should have learned from Michael Jordan's second retirement and stayed retired. Sebastian Vettel. First up, Nick Heidfeld, but Heidfeld doesn't count. Too few races, not a fair comparison, so there. First up, Liuzzi. Anyways, Liuzzi beats our boy in quali and loses on points 5-3. Oh my word, does this mean Liuzzi wins? Well, no it doesn't. Vettel, 1 up. Sebastian Bourdais. Who's the better Sebastian? The world has waited for this answer for so long. Drum roll please. Vettel. It's Vettel. Vettel by 35 points to 4. If the world really wanted to know this, the world could have googled it a long time ago. Mark Webber, everybody's second favorite Aussie, good driver, but Vettel beat him on points every season for 5 years and really massively got under this guy's skin. He couldn't even leave him alone in interviews later. Like a mosquito, he was really deeply ingrained in Webber's psyche, and I'm starting to think that maybe Vettel beat himself trying to kill the Vettel Mozzie. Vettel wins by some distance. He's retired, and Daniel Ricciardo, everybody's favorite Aussie, replaces him. He comfortably beat world champion Vettel in 1 season together, when the then defending champion lost to Mercedes for the first time. Unfortunately not for the last time, by a very long way. Ricciardo wins. Vettel leaves for Ferrari and he's joined by Kimi Räikkönen. The Iceman came, the Iceman saw, the Iceman left, the Iceman did not conquer. Preferring to let his friend Vettel lead the way, but himself leading the way with some unforgettable team radio quotes. In comes Charles Leclerc, the young Monegasque. I too no big words, came with much promise and before long replaced Vettel as Ferrari's number 1, leading to the Germans' acrimonious departure from Maranello. Vettel gets a rating of 6.5 out of 10, beaten by inexperienced teammates when the chips were down when he was supposed to lead the way. Like my mom's opinion of me, slightly disappointing. Consistency. I'm putting the stats for Michael Schumacher on the screen. You can see his wins per season, very, very impressive until his comeback. Last 3 seasons, 0 wins. Points per season, once again, very, very impressive, except for those last seasons. Pre-comeback, he was very good. Podiums per season, magnificent. But only the one podium since the comeback. Retirements, 71 retirements for Schumacher. Sounds a massive amount, but considering he started 307 races, it's only retiring 23.1% of the time. That's not too bad. Leading to a rating of 8 out of 10 for consistently, mostly for his first career. The second coming of the shoe was, in hindsight, a terrible mistake. Sebastian Vettel, wins per season, not too bad. Couple of seasons that he only won 1 or 0. Would have expected possibly more from the world champion, 4 times world champion. Points per season, very consistent if you don't count 2020. Podiums per season, very consistent again. Not counting 2020, which we of course have to count. Retirements, now this is where Vettel really shines. Only 37 retirements, or 14% of races entered at the end of 2020. Very impressive. Vettel seems to finish what he starts. Except that Ferrari. He didn't really... Yeah, okay. He seems to disappear though when the chips are down. Seems to lack some ice in the veins. 8 out of 10 for consistency. For a lot of points scored. Qualifying. Michael Schumacher would start from the front row of the grid 116 times. 68 times from pole, which is still the second most of all time after Lewis Hamilton, meaning he started first 22% of his career. Not once in his comeback though. He would qualify first that one time in Monaco in 2012, but would be penalized for causing a collision with Bruno Senna in Spain. Why did he not just stay retired? I gave PK 8 out of 10 for 29% podiums, so Schu gets a 7 out of 10 for qualifying. 57 poles for Vettel. 22% of the races he's entered, and he's won 31 times from pole. Impressive. 7 out of 10 for qualifying. So that's that. That leads us to the verdict for Michael Schumacher. He gets a total of 51 out of 60. So who's the best of the Deutsche speedsters? Bring me Vettel. Vettel scores 47.5 out of 60. So the jury's out then. Michael Schumacher wins the German battle, as was expected by many of you. I know. You can say you saw this coming. But how could you? How do you know I'm not a big Vettel man and I would rate him because of his good sense of humor? You couldn't, could you? That's it for this episode of the Goat Off. Michael Schumacher the victor against Sebastian Vettel. Hit up that sub button, like the video, share the video. Come on and come back again in a couple of days for our next episode of the Goat Off. God bless. Goodbye.